It's another day. It's Friday, so today's the big day of getting everything welded up. We've got absolutely pristine conditions today, so there's no wind, sun's out, no clouds, but it's very damp this morning. It's about 10 o'clock at the moment, so everything's still got dew on it, and but we've made a start. Getting these casters mounted. So I didn't need to fully weld these blocks. I've just put 3 tacks on each block on each side. Just going to flip this over. Here we go. So I've just put 3 tacks on there because simply it's held by the bolts. So I didn't need to go any more than that. So I can add it from the side. That's what it'll look like. Remember, none of this will be seen because there'll be sheeting or something coming down over the front of it, so it's all concealed. Went in no problem. I had to do this before I welded the frame together because I needed to drill through the holes here in this main tube. So this one's all the same, 3 tacks, ground it back, and the same on that side as well. So our caster wheels are finished. Okay, I've got all the corners all tacked in place. Made sure it was all square and level. So the concrete is uneven. I've run the spirit level across it, and obviously where these expansion joints are, they do tend to rise and then fall again. So I have to be wary of that, but I'm guessing as long as I keep the tube level with the top of that by running my square across it, I should be okay. There's no reason why it should pull out of square, but I will continue to check it as I go along. Now I know everything was precisely cut by the steel merchant, so you know 3/9 is 3/9. And whatever the sides are here is whatever the sides are. So provided I've got nice clean edges there, no gaps, that should be right. Okay, I've gone along with my texter or Sharpie or whatever you want to call it, felt tip marker, and I've marked either side of the posts. I'll be able to see the black line there on both ends. That's just going to give me a rough idea of where I need to grind back the gal coating for welding. All these cross braces have already been done, including these ones. So what I'm going to do is remove all these, and just to make it easier, I think I'm just going to tip the frame up on its side and just grind away. It should only take me about 5 minutes, I think, and then we can start welding everything together. Oh, the gate's finished. I'll finish welding anyway. Still got to put my guide up there. Still got to grind back some of the welds and clean it up a little bit, and then spray everything. I went down to the hardware yesterday and did actually come across a wheel that was smaller than these, exactly the same style but smaller. I just don't know why the smaller ones weren't advertised on eBay. Or the track slopes with the concrete that it pulls it out of square when it reaches the wall. And it's similar here too. Like when I bolt this down, I'll probably have to put a washer under the very back hole just to raise it a little, just so it sits square, because as it's sitting at the moment on the concrete, it's sort of leaning out, and it could be leaning a little back. So I'll pack that out before I bolt it down, and yeah, we should have no issues. Should be alright. It's another day. It's Saturday. I think it's about the 6th or the 7th, something like that. I think it's the 6th. So yesterday I couldn't really film anything in regards to finishing off the gate because it got dark. And as I've said before, these GoPro cameras don't really like the dark unless you have backlighting and all sorts of stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to give you a look at the gate. So that's it. It's a fully retracted position, so it looks quite good. I would love to find some sort of cladding that resembled my brickwork so it would just blend in and you wouldn't notice it. And then when you closed it, it would just look like a continuation of the brick wall. So now we have the gate closed. I wasn't able to actually go and get the extra 120mm I wanted to put on here yesterday. The steel merchant was too busy, and they said unless you're buying 6 metre lengths when doing no cutting today, place your order, it'll take about 3 days. So unfortunately that's what I've had to do. So anyway, we'll get a look at it standing back here. So that's what I've ended up with, guys. I'm happy with it. It serves its purpose. Everything went in really well. Drilled the I used 10mm bolts there, anchor bolts, anchor screws, same as what I used for the post. I was really afraid at one stage when drilling this one that this whole end piece of the brick would shear off. Not so much when drilling it, but when screwing that in. There was a little bit of resistance, but I was very, very lucky. It didn't break. But it's very smooth, considering the concrete's up and down like a yo-yo here. So yeah, all good. It does stick out a bit at the bottom there, and it's completely flush with the top, but that is reflected on the house wall as well. I can't get into the corner at the moment, but there is a little bit of a gap down there and it's tight there. But the gate is square, and when you close it, it's hard up against the post, and then the brickwork here is perfect with this vertical bar. The only reason it's out is because the concrete has all these different angles, and it tends to rise every time you get near an expansion joint, and we had a really bad one here, as you remember, and I had to actually bend the track here to come up and over this and then back down. But you know, it looks neat, it looks clean. I don't think I actually need to put that stopper on, because I've put these plastic plugs in the ends of the tubes. They work just as well. So yeah, beautiful. I got away with having to install that. A couple of other things I did today was I'm trying to get the ripples out of this shade sail. Now I know these two poles are square to each other, and they're my hard points, so they're my hard fixing points. What I am going to do though is I've got one of those tighten up loop rings coming off the shade sail. I'm going to swap that out for a carabiner like this. I have another 2 of them, stainless steel, so that will give me the exact same distance from the mounting loop to the shade sail. There's not much in it, we're only talking a couple of mil, if that. What I've done also today is I've extended this post. As I said I would, I'd bring it out to the fence, which increased its height as well. So now I have, the shade sail is actually higher here on the back side, I still have some ripples here, but I have a feeling that those ripples have been created from the water pooling in the center and really dragging the whole shade sail down. I think it's just stretched it. When I take a measurement off this post to that mounting point, or work angles, the angle from here to there is exactly the same as the angle from the shade sail here to the shade sail there. So technically it's square. So I think these are just stretch marks now, if that's the right word to use. I think the fabric's stretched, but for $49 I don't really care. I can always buy a more expensive one and remount, but it has pulled it a lot more taut now. So I'm hoping that now that the water will actually run off it. I thought about actually rotating the whole shade sail by 90 degrees so that the corrugations in the sail would actually face out onto the concrete / a little bit out onto the back lawn, but I don't know whether that will fix the problem. I might get the rippling in the opposite direction. I honestly don't know. So for now I'm going to leave it. So you can see the skies are starting to get bad. We're going to get some rain this week, so I can't really be mucking around with things on the roof today anymore. Just waiting for silicone to dry around the base of that post where I sealed it up around the flashing. I will eventually get around to painting the pole as well. I've just used some of that galvanized paint because that dries extremely fast, and I figured just to prevent rust, just spray that up, and then when we get another good day, maybe next week, end of next week, or not even end of next week, the start of the week after, I'll just get up there with the paintbrush and paint that post, and it should look alright. Another job I have started to do is I've removed my step because I want to bolt down the treads. I didn't want to drill in through the tops of the treads. I wanted a really nice clean look to it, so what I've done is I've used some L-shaped brackets from the underside. I removed my little side panels, which is great, awesome access to get into the bolts. So I've got one more to screw in, and then I can just push that back in place, put the bolts back in, tighten them up, and screw my side panels back on, and we'll be done. Now, in a couple of videos ago I mentioned that I had to make some modifications to one of these side panels to get it square, because I had welded one of the legs in a little bit, not quite plumb. So this is the one here where I've had to make the alteration. As you can see, I've had to step it down a little bit, so I guess that sort of reflects how much that leg is out, but also, I'm not trying to make excuses here, the concrete is sloping, so and you'd be able to see that in the camera, that leg is longer than that one, so it might have been due to that I ballsed it up a bit. Who knows? I'm no professional, I just do what I do, and if I balls it up, I fix it. So yeah, so that all the treads will be fastened down today, which is another step closer to getting everything completed. It's also good too for running these lights along here, these deck lights. Just the simple fact that it takes you less than 2 minutes to pull the step out, and you can get to your cabling, you can get to your lights. It's really good. To get to all these, I've either got to enter from the end where the gate is, or I've got to take this whole panel off which is only held in by, actually, what is it held in by? I don't think it's held in by anything. I think it's just pushed in place. I think it's such a firm fit against the brickwork that one is actually pushed in. This one's the one that's fastened in. This is actually screwed here. So that's a permanent fixture, and these three have cross braces, or four have a cross brace every 200 mil or 100 mil or something to tie these together. So when I remove the 3 screws out of here, this whole thing comes off as a panel. And I've pretty much done the same thing with the sides here as well. Put the cross bracing in. Once you take your screws out down the side, the whole thing just comes off in one piece. So I've got to do a little fix up here. I've got a little bit of a bow in this, so I've got to find a way. To sort of pull this out. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it. I might be able to screw a piece of timber onto the back of it, but I'm worried about the screw pulling out of the timber over time, and this slowly creeping back. It might be okay by the time it settles. It might settle in a really good amount of time, and it won't pull. That's what it looks like now with all the brackets fastened in place, so there's no screws exposed on the top. And that's our brackets. Steps all back in place, all screwed back in, treads are fixed. I was able to fix this board here that was sinking in. What I had was some really thick galvanized tin or sheet, and I cut a piece that was 35 mil long that came down. We went to the top here, came down, and past this board, and then I put a little return on it, and then I just put the screw, there was a self-tapping screw. I just self-tapped the screw through the sheet, and that held it out. And then I ended up putting another one in here, but because it was so tight, I didn't actually need to fix it in with any screws. So I've got one that is fixed and will never fall out, and I've got another one in there just for support until this thing sort of reshapes itself. But the treads turned out very well. I'm very happy with them. So yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all.